Howdy once again, it's tubalcain, and this is episode number 28 of my This and That series, and I haven't done one in quite a while, so I think I've got some interesting things to show you or tell you, and viewer appreciation gifts and so on. So let's get started right away. I had a visit from Aidan Carnes, and I think I mentioned this in another video, but I wanted to give him a little credit for this. He's just a 13-year-old or 14-year-old boy, and he's from Metropolis, Illinois, home of Superman. And he made this on his his CNC plasma cutter for me. It's made out of about 16 gauge steel, and he painted it. Matter of fact, the paint wasn't quite dry when he visited me. So thank you, Aidan. And he was here with his grandfather, who also is a long-time viewer. And while I am showing signs, I received this other sign from Dave Kalin, and he has a maker space. Now I'm going to put a still of this near the end, and I'll have to do it in 2 shots so you can read this, but it's kind of interesting. Why I am a machinist, tongue-in-cheek, and some truth in there as well. So take a look at that at the end of the video, and thank Dave. Thank you. And now, if I may, I'm going to rant a little bit about Black & Decker and what has happened to the company. But clear back in the late 60s or 70s, they were producing drills like this with a 1-foot cord. Now, if you had a receptacle in your belly button, the cord still wouldn't be long enough. And this was just maddening that they would do something like this, pull a trick. And I saw this recently in a second-hand store, so I thought I got to take a picture of that and show it. And they've got it marked at $8, but the red line there means that they cut the price in half, so it's $4, and still nobody will have it because it is an absolute nightmare. And about the same time, Black & Decker started making toasters and ice crushers and other can openers and other worthless, totally worthless, each one poorer quality than the other. But they had come a long ways. Black & Decker was such a good name, and I think it's still associated with DeWalt, but to me it's spoiled. But here's an older drill that I've had for years. I bought it second-hand, but this was when they still had quality, and they called that the hole gun. That was quite an expensive drill at the time, maybe $80 or $100. Not variable speed, but it did have forward and reverse, and it had a decent chuck on it, not a plastic thing. And it has, I just measured it, it has a 8 or 9 foot cord. Look at how long that is. And a way to hang on to your key. So that's the kind of quality that they used to have, and maybe they still do with the DeWalt, but I'm doubtful. And the older ones were even an all metal case. This is where they had already switched to plastic, but that used to be a treasured name to me and millions of others. All right, enough of that rant. You know what really creeps me out is when I flash my address or somebody else's address, and then I get email from somebody saying, I know where you live. I tracked that down. I know how to read those codes. That really creeps me out. So don't do that. All right, makes me load my gun. Well, I keep it loaded all the time anyway. Dan Ketchum from Canada sent me this nice little crank, and he was thinking it would fit on that little Atlas lathe, but in fact it's really way too large for that, but I'll find a use for it someday. So I like those, what they call a ball crank. So thanks, Dan. And then I received from another Dan, 2 Dans in a row, Dan Ketchum. He knows how I love Starrett. And of all things, this arrived in my mailbox in a much bigger box on April 1st. That's about a month ago almost. And so I'm thinking, oh man, satin chrome micrometer, Starrett Company, that's awesome. But I thought, well, you know what? A micrometer doesn't rattle. So I open it up and what the heck? It's full of buttons. Well, then he gave me a note and he said, April Fool, and he had bought this at a garage sale. for the box, but you know, some lady kept their buttons in there, so I think every lady had a box or a bag full of buttons. I know my mother did. Now people throw the garment away. Everything's throwaway, but thanks, Dan, even though, you know, he had my hopes up. In the last episode of This and That, you will recall that I unboxed this beautiful old Empire Stirling engine that Bob Kearns had sent to me clear from San Diego, and that was that priority box that the post office kicked like a can clear from San Diego to Illinois. Remember how beat up it was, but somehow it survived. But here it is a month later. I got it running, so watch for a video coming soon to a theater near you showing this rebuilt and running. David Pigeon from the great state of Vermont recently sent me 2 gifts here, and there's his card. He's a gunsmith. Dave Pigeon, Pigeon's Gun Shop. He's got a website there, so check that out. And thank you for this, Dave. Thank you very much. And I've already shown this in another video, but this is called the bolt sorter. So go to boltsorter.com. It's metric on one side and imperial on the other, so you can match up your threads and instantly know what size it is. So I thought that's neat. I've never seen one of those before. And he sent me a long letter. I suppose somebody saw an address there and it's going to creep me out again. But in this box is a lock and lube, and I believe I got one of these already, but this goes on your grease gun so that the grease, the tip of the grease gun doesn't slip off the zerk. I remember greasing upper ball joints on my old Chevys. You couldn't see it. It was behind the tire, pumping away, and you know, in the end there was a quarter pound of grease, big as a golf ball, setting on top of the ball joint. Never got in there. So this locks on there. So can't wait to do my spring greasing on my Minneapolis Moline tractor. So thank you, Dave, for those 2 items. Kevin, who wishes to remain anonymous, and thank you, Kevin, for this, and he's given me some other things. Remember the aluminum that floats? He gave me that aluminum, but in this box, and it's brand new, this was drop shipped, and with a complete set of instructions is a little kit for electroplating. It's like a science kit. There's the beaker, and in here is a little power source. Really amounts to a wall wart, I think. And then in this package, we've got some chemicals. There's the plug and plate nickel solution, and in this bottle we have, well, maybe it's the same thing. And in this package we got some wires. Oh, and here's the nickel anode, so it'll be nickel plating. So I'm going to play around with that and hopefully do a video on that to show how it works. I don't know a whole lot about plating, although I've been in many plating plants and I understand the principles and all that. And you know, it's not something that is really easy to do probably on a home basis like this, but here's the complete set of instructions, and it's from Caswell in New York, electroplating in miniature. So that'll be neat. That's the packing slip, and that cost him plenty, so thank you ever so much, Kevin. You'll see more of this. Another gift here from a longtime viewer, and he calls himself a fan, Joel Jacobson, and he's from McLean, Virginia, sent me this little book, which I found interesting, and it's Tools for Woodworking in the Elementary School. Now, it does not say junior high, it says elementary. So this is really, in a way, a textbook, but it's a textbook for the teachers, not for the students. And in this, it looks like a book printed by a school district. on real cheap paper, and it's from the 40s, I believe. But all the pictures are beautiful, and they're hand-drawn. They look like pencil drawings. And it's all about woodworking for children. Not a very long book, but what I found very, very interesting is here we have a young girl in a dress sawing. So very seldom did you see girls years ago doing any of this work. So that's interesting, and a lot of other pictures here. Some of the pictures look like they might have come from Stanley Tool Company. For instance, that one. That looks familiar to me. All kinds of tools now. It'd be so nice if they were still teaching this to children, getting them started young instead of playing those stupid video games. So thanks, Joel, for this, and I hope the educators get a grip on things again and go back to where we belong. And finally, last but I hope not least, I just bought another casting kit, and that just came yesterday, and I bought this also from Mini Steam. If you recall that I bought this other little engine from Mini Steam. They're out in Ohio, but in fact this kit for a generator is really from Caldwell, no, what is it? Oh, PM Research. PM Research. So this is for a little generator, and there's the cast iron casting. This was 60 or 70 bucks, I forgot. It wasn't cheap. There's a cast iron casting. It comes with an armature and the magnets and the end bells, and I'm really pleased by the set of instructions and the drawings compared to what I got with this little Stewart engine. Remember, that was a bit of a joke. But here are beautiful working drawings, fully dimensioned, and dimensioned the way that a fellow can understand, even if he's a beginner. And then I love, and people disagree with me on this, I love an isometric drawing that just shows the way the thing goes together. Some people call that an assembly drawing. And then quite a few instructions here. So I don't know if I'm going to get to this before next fall, because the warm weather is coming here presently. I was originally hoping to run it with this, because, you know, I got a little pulley on here, but it says here that this requires 5,400 RPM, so whether or not this would have the power, because there'd have to be quite a large pulley put on here in order to get that speed, even running at full speed here. But that is pretty much in proportion, isn't it, to this unit. Remember last year I made a little generator, was semi-successful. What nice castings those are too. These are aluminum. And in the instructions it said it'll take 15 to 20 hours to make, which means it'll take 40 if I film it. So watch for more of this, and I like the way this was packaged. These are magnets. I guess you call them the field magnets. And there's an armature already wound. And there are brushes in that little package. Where was it? Right here. There's some stock. Brushes and springs and wires. Tiny little number 2 and 3s. So I'll be working in miniature again, but not with the insane BA threads that these had. Although it worked out fine, but it isn't easy. So thank you ever so much for watching all my videos and subscribing and following me, and I've got a lot more coming, so stay with me. This is tubalcain saying so long for now.